So this is a Slot Stories story. This time it is about a epic failure. This time not by a slot car company or by yours truly. This one was by some folks in China that were tasked with making a set for Bass Pro that Carrera sold directly to Bass Pro a few years ago, 2015, 2016, 2015, I think. So the set was a licensed NASCAR set. It was sold by Carrera, by us at the time when we worked there. It was directly sold to Bass Pro. And the set was made in China, of course, like everything else. And the set was shipped rather than coming to the warehouse. The set was sold directly out of China to Bass Pro, to their distribution centers. In the business, that's called FOB, Freight on Boat, Hong Kong. So that means that they picked up the sets in Hong Kong, they shipped them directly to their DCs, and we weren't involved other than to get the set made. But when you have a problem, as happened in the case of this set, you don't know you have a problem until after the sets get into the market. Well, what happened? Well, something pretty embarrassing at the time. So the sets arrived in the U.S. They went out to several hundred Bass Pros all over the country right before Christmas. I think it was, I think they probably arrived in November or October of that year, because that's generally about when the goods for Christmas sale have to arrive. It might be a little late actually, but I believe it was fairly late in the year. So we started getting calls that there were defects in the cars. We being Carrera America office, and we were surprised by that. Of course, I was wondering what the defects were, and they said that there was some issue with the printing on the car and the names on the cars. And I hadn't been involved in the process, and I didn't really know kind of what they were talking about until we started to get cars back from the Bass Pros. They sent them directly back to the office in Cranberry, the Carrera America office in Cranberry at that time. And we saw what the problem was pretty much immediately. We didn't understand the scope, though. So these are some of the defect cars. And at a distance, they look pretty good. But when you look on the sun visor, it says Stewart, right? What's the problem with that? This is Harvick's car. Bass Pro car. It says Harvick. Angle it a little more so you can see it. There you go. It says Harvick. Well, this is Stewart's car. So what we had was an unknown number of cars that evidently, when they assembled the cars, they pulled the windshields just randomly, because the windshields are clear plastic. Obviously the body is an opaque plastic. So they must have run the windows separately and had them in bins. I really don't know. We really didn't get an adequate explanation of them, of what the problem was. So what they did was they just picked randomly the windows, assembled the cars as you see, and in some cases got 2 Stewarts or 2 Harvicks, or as you see here, both of them were wrong, or some of them were actually right. We never actually knew. I forget how many sets we ran in total, but we had gotten back from the stores that had contacted us trying to figure out how they can fix this. That we got back about 700 or so, maybe 750 twin packs of cars. Now the twin packs, they come in a blister and I had just pulled these out to do this video. It was the first time they were ever taken out of the case. So this would have gone in the set, and then you would have seen the two cars from the top in the window. So in theory, you could have seen whether they were errors or not way ahead of time before you bought them. You would have been able to see whether they're errors. So like I said, we got back about 750 pairs of these once it was kind of all told. And because it was so close to Christmas and we needed to fix this, something drastic had to happen, and something drastic did. They ran another, I forget how many sets of cars there were. I think we had a little bit extra, so we may have run 850 cars. It might have been 1,000 good cars. We made sure that they understood in China what they had done wrong, and the cars were, the error cars were boxed up, put on pallets, and put in the warehouse because we frankly had no idea what to do with them. I had asked that they not be destroyed because the chassis was still good. This was an analog set, so the analog chassis was still good. The wheels and tires were still good. There was a lot still good. The motors were still good. There was a lot still good on these cars. And since most slot car companies don't run parts for set cars like this, and that's a whole other video I'll do at some point, we had an ample supply, as far as I was concerned, of great parts, and at least chassis, that I could give to dealers. Since we didn't hold the NASCAR license, because this was a premium set sold directly to Bass Pro, Carrera wasn't involved in the license with this one. Bass Pro was the licensor through NASCAR, or the licensee, whatever it is, through NASCAR. We didn't hold any of the inventory, technically. Well, we never held any of the inventory. As I said, it was shipped directly from China. So we couldn't resell these cars, the error cars. We couldn't do anything with them. So they were boxed up, put on pallets, and put on an empty shelf in the warehouse. And I would give them out, give the chassis out. I sent a lot of chassis to a few dealers, a fairly notable one in Minnesota. I sent them a bunch of chassis. I sent anybody that basically wanted chassis or parts, if they wanted anything to do with a stock car, with a NASCAR, because these actually are NASCARs. I'd just send them a whole chassis. I'd grab a couple of boxes out of the warehouse, the blisters, the twin packs of the errors that you see here. I brought home stacks of them. I gave them away to some of the guys that I used to slot car race with, and some friends here or there, just as kind of novelty error cars. I mean, how often do you see a car with an error this bad with kind of a notable story behind it? At the time, I argued that we just needed to make this clear online that it was a mistake, and it was. It was a mistake in China, and it was. That we had nothing to do with at the office, and I mean, as they say, shit happens. And boy, did it ever happen in this case. So an interesting kind of end to the story, and I'll wrap it up here in a second, is that when I got let go at Carrera, there were still, of these, the error cars that were, that we took back into the warehouse, because they would send us the cars and we would send them back a pair in kind. If they sent back 2 or 3, we would send them back 2 or 3, whatever it meant. So, or whatever it worked out to be. So the error cars, when I got let go, were still sitting at Carrera. Hundreds of them. On pallets. High up in the warehouse. And there wasn't anything anybody could do with them. I have a feeling they were thrown away. Unfortunate, huh? I thought so too. Anyway, this is a more brief video. But a kind of notable behind-the-scenes story, a colossal mess-up that people might have known about at the time. And, yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. And again, as always, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking. Please do so. Like at the bottom. It's down there, I think. Yes, it's down there. Like. Push the like button, please. That helps YouTube see the videos. And please feel free to share the videos. And as I always say, I really appreciate anyone that subs to the channel because it absolutely means quite a bit to me. Thanks again. I appreciate it. And be talking to you soon.